Good morning. Hi everyone, it's Stacy. We are loving my veteran and this is walking in my shoes this morning. I'm gonna grab some coffee because you know I always have to have my coffee before we get started. I hope everyone had a good Valentine. We saw some nice positive posts going on about Valentine and some things that had happened on Valentine's Day, and it was nice to see that. And you know, it always makes us happy when we get to celebrate our little victories. Good morning, Miss Melissa. Heads up for everybody. I don't know if you saw it on the page, but if you have Boone Cutler's book, FPL, Functioning Personal Lifestyle. We all know it's amazing. Those of us who have it, we've made notes in our FPL book. We've drawn in it, learned from it. It is actually Protocols for a Warfighter. It has been amazing in helping me understand PTSD and what they go through and learning the right tools and not to get on zombie drugs and how all of this works. You can get it on Amazon. If you already have one, please do a review on Amazon for Boone. I posted on the page this morning. Boone has asked if it's okay if he pops on Thursday on Let's Talk to kind of discuss his book a little bit. So that's kind of really exciting for us. I wanted to talk about that. So today we're going to talk about not settling. It's one of the hardest things you can do in building a relationship is not settling. I think back to my life and things that my dad had said, and I always tried so hard to please my dad. It was like my dad was the person I wanted to please in my life. And this was way back when Woody and I first got out of the Navy. And by the way, in the Navy, when he was still active duty Navy, they sent out a thing on his LES that said, you qualify for food stamps, go get them. And I'm thinking, these are the people that serve our country, and you're telling them they qualify for food stamps, go get them. And my dad was so mad when we got out and we were still on him. And I talked to him about it. I said, Daddy, what the heck? And he said, Stacy, it's not that I'm mad that you're on him. I just don't want you to settle. I want you to always reach for more. And I think that we find ourselves in relationships settling. And I go back and I look back. I was telling Michelle this morning, I said, Michelle, I go back and I look back and I look at all the guys I ever dated and all the relationships I've been in and the marriages. I settled a lot of the time. Whether it was because I didn't feel worthy, or I didn't feel like I deserved more, or I felt like I was a fixer, or a girl has no electricity for over 4 hours. We are praying for you. Oh my gosh, Nakia, I'd bring you my generator, but I think I'd slip getting there and all the ice you've had. There's a lot of people in Texas and Colorado without power. Michelle told me this morning it was like -9. And especially for those that live in Texas, they're not used to, one of my girlfriends said that hers was like -1 and they haven't had power either. And they were trying to do rolling power outages, but the ice was just getting too bad. So please pray for all of them, especially Nakia and Richard. Babe, you know I'd load up in that truck and I'd drive right there because we'd get there before the thaw. So if you need us, holler. But it's settling, and I think all of us that have ever done in a relationship, we've settled. We settle for so much. Don't settle. Don't settle. Set your expectations and don't settle. Can you set these expectations that are completely out of your realm? No. You can't set expectations that you're going to go buy a $2.2 million house. Okay, that if you don't make that kind of money. But you don't have to settle on the tent in the backyard either. So that's what I'm saying when we build these loving, lasting relationships. And okay, so your relationship is in a place you don't want it to be right now. Your relationship is not where you want it to be right now. You don't have to settle for that. Steps are taken as we go along and we navigate through this to get us to another level. Do sometimes we feel like we get pushed backwards? Absolutely. But if you don't move forward, you're not moving at all. So you can't settle for these things. Morning from Antarctica, but baby, at least you got power. Nakia doesn't have any. And by the way, Michelle, message me as soon as this is over. I want to do a Zoom on what we talked about earlier. I think it's relevant. Please and thank you. But you can't settle in your relationships. You can't settle in life. You have to keep moving forward. We second guess ourselves in everything we do. Is it right? Did I make the right move? Did you move? If you moved from the place you were at, you didn't settle. So don't second guess, did I do the right thing? Because what you're doing is not working. You are settling. Think about a house that's built on a foundation, and that foundation is soft, right? And I know we've all been in houses, even some of the new ones they build, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, there's cracks in the sheetrock, and people are like, what's that wrong? That's settling, it's normal. Yeah, when you stay in one place, you settle, you crack. You have to move forward, and moving forward builds that strong foundation. Do we do things that we question? Absolutely. But not moving creates settling. We can't settle. And that goes from everything we do in our lives. Dealing with the VA and the VA pushing these guys out and saying, I'm not ready and you don't matter and this. We can all roll over and say, well, that's just the VA system. Or we can get strong and get together and say, do these letters, stand up and be an advocate when you have to be. Do what you have to do, but don't settle for, well, this is just the best they're going to do. It's not. Because when we settle, we don't fix any problems. When we settle, we don't learn. There are a lot of things I've done in my life that I've learned from my past. Okay, I'm just telling you, there are things that I've done that I've learned from. And it's come from every aspect. I'm sure the chick that used the Gorilla Glue as hairspray learned from that mistake. All right? We learn from our past. But she could have sat there with the Gorilla Glue up on her head for the rest of her life. She didn't. She went to a plastic surgeon, got it fixed. I have to take back anything negative I said. They got a GoFundMe page set up for her. She donated all of that to plastic surgery charity. She didn't settle. Okay, so we cannot settle in where we are. Yes, our veterans get in spaces. Yes, our veterans go into a bad place. And yes, we need to allow them time to deal with what they have going on, but we don't have to settle for the negativity that it brings us. Okay? Carl's biggest thing is when he fails, people die. It's one of his biggest things. And so yesterday, we were sitting on the couch, having a great Valentine. I ate some yogurt, set the little container next to me on the table and the spoon. He came into the kitchen for something. I walked into the kitchen and I threw the container away, and he was mad. And I'm like, what? He says, I missed that. I failed. I said, you didn't fail. You didn't fail. It was a cup of freaking yogurt, the trash that needed to go in the trash. That's not failure. You can't put expectations on yourself. And so I just got in front of him and I looked at him and I said, baby, you're not failing anybody in this house. Me and the little furry things that are our children, you're not failing us. Because I could have settled for his answer, I'm a failure. Or I could have reassured him that he's not. And this had gone on for a long time in our relationship. And I just got him and I said, you're not failing us. You don't fail us. I was not settling for that nonsense anymore. And sometimes when we don't settle, it's hard and it's awkward and we feel strange when we don't settle. But if you don't move forward, you're doing nothing. Now think about it from a different perspective. And I'm not picking on somebody who's homeless or has an issue or whatever. But you go out and so you're going to, you get your list of guys or whatever. And you go pick up the guy off the street who looks horrible, right? And he needs a shower and he needs a bath. Good morning, Sophia. And he needs a bath and you just go in and you give the guy a bath, right? But you don't do anything to change his circumstances. You don't do anything to help him change his circumstances. All you've done is settle for the fact that he's okay where he was and you just wash the outside. We can't live our lives like that. You don't grow a healthy, happy relationship when all you do is settle. And sometimes not settling means going to a place we don't want to be. It means being uncomfortable. Because if it was comfortable, everybody would do it. If it was comfortable, it would not be hard and I wouldn't have to be there and we wouldn't be talking about it because everybody would be doing it. It's like reaching out and getting your veteran the help that he needs. And you fight for it and you talk him into going and you do all the little things. And then they want to lash out because the system failed and didn't warn all of us that happens. So now we're second guessing our efforts. Okay, so we second guess our efforts at this point. And so the next time they reach out, we don't do anything about it because we don't want that backlash to come on us. And then what happens that time? We can't settle. When you know they're in that space and you reach out and you get them the help, and yes, it may feel uncomfortable to you only because the people you took them to get help didn't think that we need help along the way, right? But you didn't settle. You didn't say, that's okay. You didn't say, we got this and try to do it on your own. You reached out and you didn't settle. And it happens in everything that we do. Settling is never good. All the way down from the drugs that even me, I'm not just talking about our veterans, but the stuff that my doctor says and the medications that my doctor gives, and oh, make this go away, and oh, make that go away. No, we're not doing that. I'm not settling for that. I want you to tell me why and what alternatives there are. And when you said that little ugly word, terminal illness, I didn't mean I was dying today. I'm not settling with that diagnosis. We're moving on. We all have to do it. We all have to get out of that deep space that we're in order to build a healthy, happy, loving relationship. We have to understand that settling doesn't work. Are you gonna have, you also got to keep in mind, which we talked about Friday, limitations, mental and physical and financial and all the limitations, but you don't have to settle. It doesn't make you grow. And that's where we mess up so many times, because we just take it as this is the way it's always going to be. If you're not happy where it's always going to be, then change something. And I am not advocating leave them. If you are not happy, who is the only person that can make you truly happy is yourself, then I suggest you do something to change the way you feel, because otherwise you're settling. I've done it. Look, yeah, I picked up I'm telling you, I was talking to Michelle this morning, we were dying laughing. It was like I went out this morning and was talking about everybody that I'd ever dated. Now that I go back in and I look at this dating record that I have, right? And from the time I was young, I look at this dating record, I'm like, oh, well, you needed fixing, and you needed this, and you were on this, and you needed that, and you needed this. And then I wonder why my life didn't go anywhere impressive, right? My life didn't go anywhere impressive because I went back to the same stuff. And while I may have changed people, I didn't change the circumstance. I was settling for this was the best that I had to offer, the world had to offer me. And that doesn't make sense. And multiple failed relationships, multiple failed marriages. What do I end up with? I end up with a veteran with PTSD. And if somebody wants to talk about settling, they'd be like, oh, that's where you settle. No, I mean, it is not where I settle. That man has PTSD. Okay, fine, we are moving on. He loves me more than I have ever been loved at any one moment in my entire life. And he always tries to do better for me. I didn't settle. My veteran with PTSD was step up. And we grow together every single day, just like when I told him in the kitchen last night that he is not failing me. It is about growth. And where most people would say, oh, you got a veteran with PTSD, well, aren't you just settling out? Nope, I didn't settle. I have a man who defended this country, that man who saw things that most people never, ever should have seen in their entire life, have been through things, have sacrificed things, and thinks that I am his world and makes me feel that way. I didn't settle for anything. And that's where we all have to be. Stop looking at the negative and look at us, and don't settle. Somebody got a nice little trip from her gentle giant. And she probably would have settled for a card. Probably would have settled for a card for Valentine's Day. But instead, she got an amazing trip from her gentle giant for Valentine's Day, where he didn't settle into his PTSD and he stepped out of his comfort zone, and they had an incredible Valentine weekend. Because when we settle, the people around us settle. When we settle, we teach people that it's okay to do that. So when we allow that to go on in our own life, we're teaching the people around us to allow it to go on in their life. It's all about what we're doing. It's all about settling and reaching out. Yeah, you may have had a bad childhood. Are you going to let that childhood live with you the rest of your life? Because if you do, you're settling. If you have things that happened in your childhood where you didn't have things, or you weren't allowed to do things, or you weren't able to have certain items, or it wasn't the best relationship, but now you're with somebody, right? And you've got a relationship here. You can either continue the relationship you knew, or you can step out of it. And you can step on, And things you had to settle for as a kid, you don't have to settle for now. Things that I had to settle for in marriage one, I don't settle for now. That's stepping up. And when you learn that that's okay, your relationships will grow. When you learn that's something you have to do, your relationships will grow. First of all, it's going to grow with yourself. Negativity breeds negativity, and if we get in our mind that we're never going to have it any better, that our love is never going to get any better, that we don't deserve any better than what we're already having, that we're stuck feeling this way forever, once that gets in your mind, it stays there. And when it gets in your mind, do you know what it does? It triggers you to expect that all the time and not expect anything different. So we stay in that settling mode because we don't believe we deserve anything else. And when you don't believe you deserve anything else, you're not going to try to achieve anything else. How many people do we see now that are older adults that are going back to college that gave up on college years ago because they didn't think they were smart enough? They didn't think they could do it. They didn't think this. And now they're going back to college and they're getting degrees. Let me tell you something. It would have been so much easier for me to have gone right from high school to college and aced everything when my brain was still in the thinking about it mode, but I decided that the beach was a much better place for me to go learn about the world than it was in a classroom. And going back now is so much harder. I've gotten my pieces and bits of degrees from everywhere, 1 or 2 classes at a time, and it was harder. So we settle for things. But I could have said, I'm never going back to school. I'll never get there. I should have done it after high school. I don't have to have a degree now. I'm done. And settled and moved on. Paramedic school is probably one of the hardest things I ever did. On top of that, I took it accelerated. So, I worked 2 almost full-time jobs, and I went to school full-time plus, and it was the most intense 6 to 9 months of my life, and it's very hard. At least it was when I went. I mean, my brain thinks it was hard, but I did it because I wasn't going to settle, because I knew that I wanted more. I didn't just want this. And then when I went back and got the other stuff that goes with it, I didn't just want to be a paramedic. I wanted to do critical care. I went to that level, and it was hard. And even with everything going on, you realize when I went to EMT and paramedic school, I had 2 kids that weren't in school and a husband, and worked a job, a full-time job and a part-time job at almost 40 hours a week at a part-time job, and I still managed to make it work because I wasn't going to settle. And it doesn't make me great, it just makes me not settling, because those words to my father came back in my head. I'm not upset that you're on it. What I'm upset about is that you want to settle and think it's okay. And those words stick with me every single day. Are you going to settle? Or are you going to do something about it? And I'm not talking about the house you live in, and I'm not talking about the vehicles you drive, and I'm not talking about all the monetary things you can have in this world. What I'm talking about is personal growth. Because without it, your relationship is never going to grow and become healthy and strong and loving if you don't learn personal growth. And when you don't show personal growth, the person you're with doesn't choose to grow. It's a proven fact. When you look at the economics and how economics work, it is a proven fact that children that grow up in an impoverished environment where their parents didn't work are more likely to, as adults, live in that impoverished environment where they don't work. Why? Because their whole life they were taught to settle. You don't have to get good grades. It's okay. You don't have to do this. It's okay. You don't have to have that. It's okay. There is a proven statistical numbers that people who are not pushed to do better never will. So when you set expectations for yourself that are higher than what you're used to, and I'm talking about personal growth expectations, when you set them, the people around you who love you and the people who see it happening, they will change and grow with you, because you're not going to settle. Yes, Carl has his days, and I allow him to have his moments, but I'm not going to sit here and watch him wallow around in it when I need to say, I love you and you don't deserve to feel this way about us. You deserve to feel that way about whatever happened to you, but you don't have to bring us. We're okay. We're good. And you know what happens? It takes the stress off and it lets you go on. When you're the one who is with your veteran and they're getting denied care, or they're getting told you don't deserve it, or they're getting told, oh, come back in 6 months, or they're getting told, when you stand up and say, whoop, hold on, he may be a number to you today, but he's not a number to me, and you're going to do something because he deserves better. Even if the VA doesn't do anything better, when your veteran sees you saying that, they get in their mind that they deserve better and they matter. And all it takes to learn not to settle is that you matter. And that's how you're going to grow your relationship. If you're not willing to get out of the place you're in, and where you're at in your relationship, and where you're at in your personal growth, and where you're at in your head, and where you're at in this feeling like I'm tied down because my veteran is a sentence to me, if you're not willing to get out of that, your relationship's never going to grow. And I'm probably never, ever, ever, ever in one to want to say, leave your veteran. But I'm going to tell you this. If you're not willing to grow, and you're not willing to change, and you're not willing to fight for him, and you're not willing to let your relationship grow, don't wake up 15 years down the road and say why. Because if you're not willing to do anything like that, do him a favor and say see ya. Because this takes two. And our change is critical to help them change. Girl, you're right. I'm so proud of him. He's like going to be our superhero. The Gentle Giant is going to be the superhero poster of the week. I'm just saying. I've never been an advocate to leave him, but you got to change. You have to be willing to not settle to grow that relationship. You can't settle for where you are, or 6 years down the road, 15 years down the road, 20 years down the road. You're going to be the one posting in the group that says, I'm so tired, I've dealt with this for 20 years. Wow. Well, you knew it was going to be that way 20 years ago, but you settled for that. You didn't encourage growth on you, which will encourage growth everywhere else. Yeah, she pointed out his growth. I am so proud of him, and I'm so excited for you. But that's what we talk about. He's aware of his growth, and he's got to feel proud of what he's done. He has to feel proud of what he's done. Carl went with me to Walmart for like 2 hours, and we looked around and we didn't follow a provided path. I was so excited. We had to wait to get the oil change. But I was so excited. And that's growth. And that's learning We have not had a screaming argument, knock on wood, and I can't tell you how long. I won't tell you we haven't disagreed. Won't tell you that we haven't had arguments. But we have not had a yelling match argument, and I can't tell you how long, because we have both grown and not settled for that being the norm anymore. We have both grown to a place where we can say, time out, this is not good. Or in Nikia's version, stop. It's not good. That's what I'm talking about, don't settle. That's what I'm saying, don't settle. Because when you don't, and you set the bar higher, and you set that bar higher in your personal life, it sets the bar higher in your relationship. Tomorrow, communication. And a topic we've kind of avoided, but how to communicate to grow your relationship. Can't wait. Again, if you have FPL, Functioning Personal Lifestyle by Boone Cutler, it is a warrior protocol. All of us that have ours have written in them, probably way more. I probably need to order another one. If I could give Boone a piece of advice, it would be you should have put journal pages in so I could make longer notes in what I was doing. Anyway, it is available on Amazon, $9.99. I encourage you to order it. Anybody in this group who has ordered it, please go to Amazon. It's posted on our thing where you can go. Boone Cutler was talking about his book. I did a review on it on his page, and he said that he is going to be on Let's Talk Thursday night. He's not sure he'll be there the whole time, but he would love to talk about FPL and what it has done and how he wrote it, so we can ask questions to the amazing Boone Cutler. So please, if you have not ordered one and you want one, go to Amazon, $9.99. It is amazing. I don't promote product. We get nothing back from Boone other than the fact that this book has helped me in more ways than one, because learning to be a combat veteran and dealing with PTSD is a personal lifestyle, functional personal lifestyle, and everything is not a one-size-fits-all. So that's going on with that. I'm going to get with Michelle in a few minutes and talk about some other things. Please, again, I encourage you, good, bad, or indifferent letters, VA stories at lovingmyveteran.com. We have got to get them in so we can start going through the research, because we have got to start getting that out there. Everybody who is going through the Arctic stuff, Nikia, all of those in Texas that we so love and adore, that are without power at -1 degrees, please pray for them. I know that Michelle's in the Arctic freeze, but right now she still has power, so I'm sure she'd rather be at -9 and power than -1 and none. So please keep them in our thoughts, and hopefully this will thaw out soon. I think that's all we have. Tomorrow is communication and the importance of communication, and how to start, where to start. Because when you feel like you're drowning, learning to communicate is tough. And where do you start that's going to help it grow? So that's what we're going to work on tomorrow as we start to work through the next 2 weeks of how to take all we've learned about a healthy, loving relationship and how to put it all into place. Because we all want to get to the point that Miss Sophia got to and have a Valentine's like she had, because that was amazing. And please tell your gentle giant we are all proud of him. I'm Stacy. This has been Walking in My Shoes, and we're Loving My Veteran. Y'all have a blessed day.